50 years ago, the word athlete may have been hard to distinguish a person solely based on their looks. A sports person would prove their worth and showcase their ability under the spotlight, and only then would people be able to criticize. But with the evolution of sports science and modern technology, athletes are very easy to spot, and the very best know exactly how to train to get the best from their bodies. However, you can eat clean your whole life, train like an animal, but sometimes power and speed just comes from the heart. The year was 1996. Richard Zalatoris, a military pilot, and Catherine Zalatoris, a former college track and field athlete, gave birth to their only child, Will. The military ran in the family, with Richard's father and both brothers continuing the family tradition. After leaving the military though, and making quite a nice penny in the construction industry, Richard didn't want his son following in the same direction. Will was introduced to golf by his dad very early on. His dad played to a good standard, but was more of a social golfer, playing with his buddies on a weekend. Now there's two ways these stories usually go. Kid comes from nothing and fights his way to the top. Or in Will's case, and he'll be the first to admit it, come from a wealthy background, being an only child and given a huge leapfrog in life. Being born in San Francisco, Will and his father were members at the California Golf Club, a highly prestigious golf course ranked number 60 in the world top 100 golf courses. The club is men only and not open to the public, so once you get past the immaculate golf course, incredible clubhouse, and highly rated layout, it wasn't that great for a kid. Being men only, they didn't have a junior team, and little Will spent most of his childhood playing with middle-aged men escaping their wives. By age 7, Will was fully invested. His dad would take him to the range and he'd hit thousands of balls for hours on end until his dad literally had to drag him away. The only thing missing for Will was the junior scene. His parents would still travel and take him to junior competitions, but sometimes he just couldn't go. By age 12, his dad had just taken on a huge renovation project at a mall in Dallas. This project was going to take some time, and travelling every week to the other side of the country was just not practical. So when the conversation was raised about moving all the way across the country to Dallas, it was an easy decision for all three to make. Dallas had a great junior golf scene, his dad could be home every night and make golf tournaments on a weekend, and his mum now had freedom to do what she wanted. So it was agreed. The Zalatoris were heading to Dallas. Will and his dad didn't mess around. He jumped straight on the junior tour and quickly realised his competition were a little better than the men he was playing with. A boy by the name of Jordan Spieth was basically winning every week. Being a small kid, Will struggled at first, but that didn't stop him from qualifying for the US Junior Amateur at age 12, a competition he would win 3 years later in his last year eligible. But being that small definitely had its disadvantages. He was in need of a blessing completely out of his control, but sometimes you have to watch what you wish for. Being 5'4", 140 pounds, Zalatoris shot up to 6'2" and 145 pounds in the space of 1 year. This huge growth spurt had a huge impact on his swing. He now needed completely different clubs, new clothes, and his swing had also changed. After being in Spieth's shadow his whole junior career, Will was now getting offers from all around the country from different colleges. He visited many coaches and many different colleges, but it took him quite a while to get to the right offer. Some people didn't believe in him, saying his putting wasn't good enough, and some even said his attitude wasn't even good enough. At one campus, a coach asked him where he saw himself in 5 years. Will didn't really have huge ambitions early on. He was happy being a D1 player, or maybe on the Corn Ferry Tour. The coach said his dreams weren't big enough. Most of his players were aiming for the PGA Tour and winning majors, but Will was just being honest and realistic. Taking a battering from Jordan Spieth every week your whole life would probably do that to you. So the dreams of college were now looking slim. He'd visited everyone who had an interest in him, and none of them had worked out. That was until one day Will got a phone call. Jerry Haas at Wake Forest University saw something in Will that others had missed. He awarded Will with the Arnold Palmer Scholarship, a scholarship they give out to one person per year, and has seen previous students such as Bill Haas, Webb Simpson, and Curtis Strange receive this honour. Will's time with the Demon Deacons got off to a great start. In his freshman year, he won his first college tournament at the Bank of Tennessee in Collegiate, shooting 10 under par over 2 rounds and leading Wake Forest to a second consecutive team tournament win. He was one of the 3 Deeks to be in the lineup for all 13 events and had led the team with a 71.20 scoring average. He was proving he was great as an individual and in a team by winning the individual championship at the Rod Myers Invitational and the team title for Wake Forest with a birdie on the 54th hole. He was also part of the United States Palmer Cup team that competed in England. He'd also win twice during the 2016 summer, taking the title at the Trans-Mississippi Championship and the Pacific Coast Amateur. Nevertheless, it wasn't just golf while he was there. Will was studying psychology, something that would definitely help him later on in his career. It was in those classes where he would meet his now fiancée, Caitlin Sellers. Heading into the junior year, he won the ACC Player of the Year award and First Team All-American. He was then the individual champion at the General Hackler Championship and finished under par in 9 out of 12 events. His time was coming to an end in college. Will was about to get his first taste of the highest team matchup in amateur golf. He was part of the 2017 Walker Cup team, which was just flooded with talent. Names such as Colin Morikawa, Scottie Scheffler and Cameron Champ were all among the team who absolutely annihilated Team GB in Ireland 19-7. He'd finish up his college record with 24 top 10s, 15 top 5s and 4 victories with a scoring record of 70.44, setting a new school record. As his girlfriend stayed on to do her masters, Will decided to leave a year early and try to get his feet planted in the professional world as quickly as possible. After taking the huge leap, Will felt the pressure. He was all alone on the road and only had his girlfriend FaceTiming him for company, and now more than ever he needed her. Zalatoris failed to make it past the first stage of the Korn Ferry Tour qualifying school. He was now a college dropout and had no status for the 2019 season. He had to rely on Monday qualifiers and sponsor exemptions to play the events, but that added pressure was starting to get on top of him. Will had hit rock bottom and had had the worst possible start to a professional career anyone could ask for. At this point he was 0-25 and had no idea where his career was heading, and had he made the right choice leaving college? A phone call from his girlfriend and a meeting with his team. Will had put so much pressure on himself and had been practicing way too hard. His new approach was just to loosen up and just remember the player he was and just start to believe again. Will picked his train off the tracks and began charging and battling his way through every golf course. His perseverance had worked and Will had secured a membership for the remainder of the season after a tie for third at the Leckham Health Challenge. He finished the regular season 60th in points, earning full status for the 2020 season. With that worry now gone, Will could just take a minute to relax. That rocky start was now over and he could focus on the future. He came into the new season a different player. He had a different swagger about him. He was more aggressive and more relaxed, and he looks like he'd been on tour his whole life. His first professional win would come in July 2020 after winning the Colorado Championship by 1 stroke. That win nestled him right at the top of the Korn Ferry Tour points list and also qualified him for the US Open. His first step on the big stage couldn't have got off to a better start. In the first round he aced the par 3 7th as cool as you like, and went on to finish the tournament in a tie for 6th. Things got better though. With a tie for 16th finish at the Bermuda Championship in early November, the Dallas resident passed the non-member FedEx Cup points threshold to secure Tour Special Temporary Membership. In other words, the ability to accept unlimited Tour sponsor exemptions in a season. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic hiatus, Zalatoris finds himself in a unique scenario that is very unlikely to be duplicated in the PGA Tour's modern era. After a sparkling 2020 Korn Ferry Tour campaign that included 7 consecutive top 15 finishes, he would have normally secured Tour membership. However, without a full Tour season contest in 2019 and 2020, it was determined by the Player Advisory Council and Policy Board that no Tour cards would be lost for the 2020 and 2021 season. The consequent effect was that no Tour cards would be awarded for the 2020-2021 season either. The one-time adjusted structure lent itself the possibility that a Korn Ferry Tour member could ascend the official World Golf Rankings to previously unforeseen heights before earning his full Tour membership. At this point in 2019, Will was as low as 2000th in the World Golf Rankings. After the start he'd had in his career from sinking to rock bottom and then battling through one of the biggest pandemics in human history, Will had made it to Augusta. His new demeanour was shining. He was focusing on trying to be level-headed whether he was 6 over or 6 under. After the first round, Will was looking good. 2 under par to sit him nicely in 4th position. Day 2 at 68 squeezed him in 2nd place, 1 back from Justin Rose. And day 3, 71 was still enough to keep him in 2nd place but 4 shots back from Hideki Matsuyama. In the final round, Hideki saw his lead cut to just 1 after he bogeyed the first hole while Zalatoris made birdie at the 1st and 2nd. Matsuyama came back from 3 birdies on the front 9 and led by as many as 6 shots. Matsuyama bogeyed the par 3 12th after failing to get up and down from a greenside bunker. After making a birdie on the par 5 13th when his tee shot ricocheted off a tree back into play, he hit his approach shot onto the par 5 15th into the water over the green for another bogey. Zalatoris birdied the hole and left his second shot on the 17th 6 feet from the flag for another birdie to finish at 9 under following a round of 70. With a 2-shot lead and 2 holes to play, Matsuyama 2-putted for par on the 17th. At the 18th he hit his second shot into the greenside bunker and missed a 5-foot par putt but tapped in for a bogey and a 1-shot victory at 10 under. With the win, Matsuyama became the first Japanese player to win the Masters and the first Japanese male to win a major championship. But even with the glory of Matsuyama, people were still flicking through their notepads trying to figure out where this Lone Ranger had snuck in from. With his solo second finish, he was now stood at number 27 on the official World Golf Rankings as a non-PGA Tour member and was not currently eligible for the FedEx Cup playoffs. He finished that year voted Rookie of the Year and had already started to recruit quite the fanbase. To kickstart the new season in January 2022, Zalatoris tied for the lead at the Farmers Insurance Open after 72 holes. He lost a sudden death playoff to Luke List when List hit his approach shot to a foot away from the first playoff hole and made birdie. Yet another fantastic performance and another great result. People knew it was only a matter of time before Will won. That next shot would come months later. In May 2022, Zalatoris finished second in a major championship for the second time. He lost to Justin Thomas in a playoff in the PGA Championship at Southern Hills. He was just outclassed that day. JT hit one of his greatest shots of all time to pile the pressure on Will, and in the end, he just wasn't good enough. So we've seen it so many times. Players get hyped up and then just can't quite get it over the line. But Will's story was different. He hadn't been hyped up at all. He didn't have that pressure. People were just rooting for him to win. But sadly that win just seemed so close but so far away at the same time. 1 month on from the PGA Championship heartache, Will had everyone in tears once again. Zalatoris had another second place in a major championship. He finished tied second with Scottie Scheffler at the US Open behind Matt Fitzpatrick. But again, it was nothing he did wrong. Matt played the greatest shot of his career that day and deserved to win hands down. So it had been a tough year for Will. Constantly the bridesmaid, but it wasn't anything to snub your nose at. Will had overachieved if anything. It just would have been nice to see one of them second places over the line. In the background of the tour, Will was playing golf with good friend Tony Romo. Now Will's an only child, but Tony is considered his big brother. The pair have very interesting money matches on the course, and Will says Tony's deep pockets are a great way to replicate pressure situations. So with the major season over, if this fairy tale was to end in glory, it wouldn't be one of the big four, but it could still be a big event. On August 14th, 2022, Zalatoris won his first PGA Tour event, winning the FedEx St. Jude Championship at the TPC Southwind in Memphis, Tennessee. He won on the third of yet another playoff hole against Sepp Straka. The event was the first of 3 events in the 2022 FedEx Cup playoffs. With his win, Zalatoris moved to first in the FedEx Cup standings ahead of Scottie Scheffler. So it was written in the stars. After the huge battle Zalatoris had been through, the ups and downs, could he seriously win the biggest prize fund in golf? However, as this fairy tale starts to unwind, a nightmare would make its way in. Shortly before the BMW Championship, Will withdrew with a back injury. At first it didn't seem too bad, but after closer inspection from specialists, the source of the pain was 2 herniated discs. This would rule him out of the Tour Championship and the President's Cup. Another huge blow for Will's career. He currently sits at number 7 in the official World Golf Rankings, but nobody knows how he's going to come out the other end. He's only 26 years old, and to have such a serious injury this early on in his career really is a concern. The amount of torque his body creates may not be sustainable going into his 30s, and a swing change now really could mess up his career. Will has already said he doesn't want to play golf forever, and doesn't want to be that FaceTime dad, on the road missing his kids grow up. He genuinely thinks he'll have a short career, with at least 1 major, and then go into coaching. So maybe this injury is just a reminder of that goal of his. All we can do is pray he returns the same player he was pre-injury and continues his meteoric rise. 2023 may be the year he gets another win and hopefully betters that second major finish.